Hey there, my name is Seth Meshko. I am a three-dimensional animator, and this video is going to be about the preparing a character for use in Unity coming out of Maya. And there's going to be a lot of sort of like rigging considerations and stuff. The basic gist of it is it's going to be a walk cycle. This is going to be the start of a series of animations that create viable animations for a fully functional character. It will start with a walk cycle. Now, that being said, these videos are going to feature more than just a little how-to on doing a walk cycle. So if all you're looking for is a walk cycle, there are plenty of other videos out there that will cover that. One of the things that this series is going to be dealing with is all of the other stuff that sort of crops up around preparing a model to be exported, with animations into Unity, and some considerations that we have to do there. And I'm going to forewarn you that it's going to be a little rocky. There will be times where I will be fixing things that I found, or adding things in that are needed, and I'll be explaining those if they're relevant to what's going on. I actually think that that's really valuable. Sometimes I watch tutorials and stuff out there, and they're just like really clean and highly edited, and very concise and stuff, and a lot of times they're not as helpful as those ones that aren't as highly edited and allow for the person who's doing them to mess up and show you the things that have failed and how they're fixing them and stuff. I tend to learn a lot more from those sorts of tutorials than I do from the ones that are really polished. The ones that are really polished sometimes omit entire problem areas because they know they're problem areas, and they don't really want to cover them because it's so divergent from like the topic that they're trying to get across. So I guess the message here is if you're already bored and irritated with what I'm telling you, it's not going to get any better from here. Okay, so like if you want just a straightforward walk cycle tutorial or something that's a little more concise, by all means go ahead and go get that. But if you're into seeing some stuff that is a little more advanced, has some more considerations, please stick around. Okay, thank you, and without further ado, let's start. You should know about creating a successful rig for export into a package like Unity, which is where this is going to go, is that you will need to have your rig set up correctly. Now, this item here is how you translate this dude around in space and stuff. Okay, so if he's going forward and backward, that's where he's going to go. The other control that you will want with this is pivot in Y. Okay, however, you do not want to pivot this character in Z or X because it's going to mess with the dynamics in your Unity. Okay, so let's go ahead and kill that ability. Okay, so these are in my character set. I'm going to go into character sets a little bit later. So rotate X, rotate Z, we can just take those out of the character set just for the hell of it. It's not that you need to do that, but and then we're going to lock it. Okay, so lock those. Okay, now the only axis I can pivot in is the y-axis. That's exactly what we want. But let's say we want our character to lean. Okay, so intuitively you would want it to lean with this control. Okay, but it's not going to happen. If you were to take this control, which is the next highest level control, you could, but note his feet get displaced. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom leaning attribute on this item, and then use that to go ahead and drive those turns. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we will go into our attribute editor, and we will do lean X, and this will be, let's go, I mean, like, we might as well go like 0 to 90, which is, you know, the largest that we would ever have it lean, which we're never going to go to 90 because that's not a lean, that's lying down, but nevertheless, just so that it has some real world stuff, we'll do that. So float scalar add, okay, and then we're going to go lean Z 0. Oh, what was I thinking? Sorry. We will obviously want it to go left and right, so delete attributes. Okay. So I'm going to make a lot of mistakes too, and you're just going to have to deal with that. I'm not going to edit this stuff out because I think it's important that people know that you, as an animator, rigger, whatever you are, you, in this process, you constantly make mistakes, and that's just part of it. And anyone who pretends like they do things perfectly right off the bat, I think they're liars. They might not be, maybe they are that perfect, but I really doubt it. Okay, so we're going to add that, so negative 90 and 90, so that we could go both ways, right? And then lean Z. Okay, and then we'll go negative 90 and 90. Alright, and add. Okay. So now this item here has lean X and lean Z. Okay. We are just going to go into this thing's rig here now. Okay, so on this item, okay, we're going to go ahead and open that up and look for where this resides. Okay, so it resides right underneath this item. Okay, so this thing that we can twist in that direction, but not the other two. This is right underneath it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to create a null, okay, which is automatically going to be exactly where we want it to be at the base. Okay, and we're just going to call this our body lean null, okay, because that's really the only thing that it does. All right, and if we were to pivot from there, okay, we got it. All right, so cool. Now all we have to do is connect this thing's rotations, okay, to this object, okay, in lean and X and Y. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our, you would think that it would be under relationship editors, but it's not. Connection editors under general editors. Okay, and so down here in this, lean X is going to drive rotate X, and lean Z is going to drive rotate Z. Okay, so now we should be able to lean in X, very good, and lean in Z. Awesome sauce. Okay, now that's happening, and that's really good. I follow a lot of, or have at least followed a lot of these forums out there, and a lot of times people are trying to make these rigs and get these things going, and they're asking a lot of questions about like why it doesn't work in Unity once they finally get it in. It's because actually they didn't set it up right in Maya, and difficult as it is, I try to convince them of this, and largely that's why I'm making this video, because these are the considerations that they really needed to address. So anyway, hey, listen, I'm making a little amendment to the video here, and I just really want to drive this point home, and it may have not been clear from what I was doing. So, when I set up the lean factor over this object, this is the full body control. This thing will control the rotation of the body. It can, this is like going to enable him to do like flips and stuff like that. But as you can see, it's centered about his center of gravity, right? The lean control that I created here, okay, so if he's going to run, he's going to lean a little bit and stuff like that. The reason why I didn't create it on this directly, this locator that controls the global position, is because we do not want the root joint to rotate in any other direction except for Y. Okay, it makes sense for it to rotate in Y, and again, this is specifically for games, specifically because of we're going to put this out to Unity, but it can rotate in Y because you want your entire rig to just move around and face in the direction the character has pivoted in. You wouldn't want it to go from side to side because there are dynamics that are set up on the character colliders and things that generate gravity, those sorts of things. If you have these degrees of freedom on the root joint, you can run into problems where the character will keep tumbling. One of the other things is if you have like a lean or something like that, and then you transition out of that animation as it's leaning into a new animation, it may not completely exit that lean. It will blend that lean into the next thing. And so what you'll end up doing is having a character that gets more and more eccentric and can end up like running upside down in your scene, all because it had these rotations baked into the animations for your walk cycle and stuff. People have asked about this many times on the forums, and although I've tried to explain it to them, a lot of people were like sort of rejected that this was the case, but I can assure them it is, because it's the exact same thing that I ran into when I first started. So anyway, the reason, instead of pivoting from the root, what we're doing is we're creating. We've got a parent constraint that is controlling the hips, okay, from this object here, right? And essentially what's going to happen is when it gets baked out, the root will not move. The hip joint will move, will rotate and translate in a good relative position to the origin of the character. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, and we're achieving that in it, for all intents and purposes, looks like the same thing, but we're achieving it in a different way. This hip joint is rotating and translating, and that's what it'll look like in the bake. It'll look like a big rotate and translate in the hip joint. That is what is controlling the orientation, not anything to do with the root joint. Anyway, I just really wanted to hit that home because it's super important, and I think it's frequently a problem for people when they're creating these walk cycles. So there you go. Okay, the next thing that I want to cover is also just like, it's a little housekeeping. It's not exactly animation, but it's super imperative that you get this right. Your preferences in Maya must match your preferences in Unity. So Windows settings and preferences is how you get to this. And then you go to settings, okay? You must have Y, meter, and 30 frames per second. You'll get some weird export issues if you don't have that. And I believe this is always the default for Maya. I believe centimeter is the default for linear, and linear means your translation in X, Y, and Z. I don't know why they call it linear. It should be translation, in my opinion. But and then this is rotation. They call it angular. That's fine. Whatever. And then time is obviously time, but I think 24 is actually the default, or at least it was at one point. And which isn't. I think that even that is outmoded for film. I'm pretty sure they shoot everything at way faster than that, but whatever. Just know that these need to be established there, and that's it. I like auto key to be on. I guess that's like kind of one of the other things that I would say have on, and you can put that on or off right here. It's super easy. And then I would also say that as you're keying, ensure that you're keying on actual frames rather than in between frames and stuff. And there is a preference somewhere that sort of has that snap to frames for your keys. I don't remember where it is. I know that it's on for me, but just so you know, snap to frame should be on. And if you have them splitting frames, it's not great. It's not a deal breaker, but it's not very clean. Okay, so that's it for the preferences, and we should be able to start animating now. Okay, so we've got that's going on. Now we need those two things added into the character set. Okay, and if you don't know what a character set is, do a little homework. It's fucking awesome. Character sets are ways that you can store and unpack and repack animation, so that you don't have to have your animation be residing on your character in each individual sort of scene or in a single line. You can pack that information up, make tweaks to your model in like your T-pose or whatever if you needed to do some maintenance on something, which I'm sure I will have to do. And then you can unpack that animation and apply it again. Okay, so the way that it works is, this is your character set. It's just a node in your outliner. Okay, and then you can have subsets inside of this. Although I have these other things, and you shouldn't really concern yourself too much with that, this is the main control right here, is body control. So we select that, okay, and then we select the thing that has the attributes that we want to load into it. Okay, so now we're just going to select lean X and lean Y, and then we're going to go into control, and we're going to add the character set. Okay, so now those items are in the character set for the for the character set. Okay, so now if I have all these things, I place keys on them, and then make a clip. All of them will be included in the clip, and so you can do non-destructive animation with it, which is really what you want to be doing here. Saves yourself a ton of time. All right, so I'm gonna just start animating, okay, and stuff's gonna go wrong, and I'm gonna show you what's gone wrong as I go. Okay, so we're gonna start with the passing position on the actually, here, first thing is we've got 0 to 32. Okay, that's going to be my timeline. It will, the frame or the positions of the objects will be the same on 0 as it will be on 32. Okay, that's important. And the reason why I do 32 is because you hit on these really nice even times. You'll hit on 8, you'll hit on 16, you'll hit on 24. You'll also have some stuff on 20 and 4. Okay, and then you can speed that animation up or drop it down as you see fit, but it makes it really convenient to do those so that they land on those nice timelines, and you might end up having a much faster walk cycle by speeding it up. This is kind of a slow walk cycle, but it also, I think it's well timed. I think it looks good. Okay, so we're going to start with passing position. Okay, so passing position is as the leg is swinging through. All right, it's also at a high point in the rest of the torso and stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to this will be IK on the bottom, inverse kinematics on the bottom. It'll be forward kinematics on the top. Okay, and so here on these controls, I have IK, FK stuff set up. Do I? Maybe I don't. Interesting. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you some stuff that I messed up. Okay, so as I'm fixing the mistake, I've just sped this clip up a lot because you don't really need to know what I'm doing here so much. If you want to know what I'm doing, I'm just creating some attributes on the controller that that is for the inverse kinematic movement of this arm. I just want to be able to toggle between FK and IK using this controller. This setup, this whole rig is using a human IK controller, but I find that the human IK controller is virtually useless on its own. It really needs a lot of extra stuff on top of it to get it to work correctly. And so this is just part of that. I'm just like fixing that up and making the rig work. So I keep it in here. I would cut it out, except that it's a great time to talk about the way that I work. Particularly in the rigging stage, I fix my rig as I'm animating. I think it's almost impossible to have a totally viable rig come out and be flawless when you start animating it, because I mean, how would you even know what was going to go wrong until you started animating it? At least that's been my experience. There might be some geniuses out there that are able to completely have it 100% in play by the time it's at this stage, but not me. So anyway, you know, my first animation happens to be a walk cycle, and it just so happens that that there'll be a viable product at the end of this test phase for the rig. But more than this is a walk animation, this is a test animation. It's just awesome that I end up with a viable product at the end too. All right, let's get back into. I'm just gonna cut the rest of this shit out. Reference so that I can't select the body. Okay. All right. Go. Okay. Oops. So I'm just gonna have the arms kind of floating at the side. It's a little stiff right now. This is kind of high. It's gonna do that. All right. We ran into our first skinning issue. Okay. So we don't want the pecs to collapse as the shoulder drops. All right. So okay, I'm going to speed the video up while I'm doing this skin weights fix. I'm only going to do this on one side, and then when I get it back into T-pose, I'll go ahead and I'll mirror skin weights just to save myself a little bit of time. That's actually a great illustration of why we use clips. You save whatever animation work you've already done. You pack it up, you take it off of it, you know, bring your character back to T-pose to do whatever maintenance on it you need to do in T-pose, and then you just drop that animation back on. So perfect illustration of like why I do that workflow. Here's another problem. I got into a situation where I had some controls that weren't in my controller set, in my character set, so I went ahead and added them in. You just don't get to see that anymore, which is sort of frustrating at first, but you'll get used to it. Alright, cool. So passing position, opposite arm will be sort of reaching forward. We're just going to do something really sort of static and not
terribly dynamic or have very much character at first. We're just going to give a really straight walk cycle, and then we'll start dealing with how to give this guy like a little bit of strut and attitude and stuff. But first we'll just do a real generic one. Alright, cool. So we will go ahead and key there. Okay. And now what we'll do is go to 16, which is of course halfway between those two, and we're going to invert those. And I mean, like, you could be real particular and dial out the precise values between these two and stuff. I'm not going to do that, dude. I'm just going to get it close enough. If I see it, then it exists and it's a problem. If I don't see it, then it's not. That's my philosophy anyway. If you're one of those people that's really precise and you want to get the exact same position on, both sides of the body, go ahead. Okay. All right, and so I do have auto key on. All right, and so what should be happening now? That wasn't set. Didn't have any keys on there. That is so irritating. For the first key that you set, it snaps back in my app. I don't really know why that is. That's sort of happening in 2013. Okay, cool. So here we go. We're gonna okay, so we need to just I didn't set the first key on there. Key selected. Okay. Now we should have him doing this little pedaling routine. Okay, and we're going to swing that back to down. Again, I make mistakes. I make tons of mistakes, and you're going to see them. Okay, cool. There we go. Yep, that's what we're looking for. We're done. Just kidding. Alright, so now we've got that happening. We need, he can't just be kicking the ground like that, right? He's got to travel forward. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the down position as he steps forward. We're going to draw this back and we'll finesse this little bit by little bit. We're we're dealing with this rolling system in the leg, and as this is something that takes iterations. That's just the way that it goes. I'm gonna drop him down a little bit. You know what? About now is about time that we want our plane in here. So we're just gonna go ahead and create a NURBS primitive, a plane. Okay, and I don't. So let's go ahead and create an empty layer create a layer from selected, and oops, not that. Here, this, and we're just going to call this environment env. Delete, in case we didn't remember. Delete this layer. Save. Okay. So let's get this bad boy scaled up. Oops. Okay. That's probably plenty big enough. And then we're just going to make it a reference object so we can't select it. Okay. Cool. So now we've got something to look at to find out where the contact points should be. Okay, we'll go ahead and we're going to key this key. Oh, you fucker. See, it snaps back. Irritating. Okay, Okay, and then we'll move this forward. So the heel will be connecting on the front. Okay. And it'll be connecting with the toe in the back. Alright. And then at this point, this will be quite far forward. This will be the maximum swing of the arms. Swing. It actually, that's not totally true. Depending on the sort of the character, the maximum swing might happen like just behind this, like 10. But we can get into that later. Okay. So, whoops. Yeah, just go ahead and snap over back there. Alright, so, and you may be noticing like some sort of peculiarities in the way that these rolls are working. That's because this is a human IK setup. This is not a traditional rig. So there will be some sort of like peculiarities in the way that this sort of looks because it is a different setup. It's softer. Okay, so wherever you see controls here, it's almost more like a suggestion. It's for Maya. It's not an absolute. When I show the rig and how it works and stuff, that'll all make a lot more sense. But it's just some things that you'll have to get used to if you're working with this. But if you're working with your own rig, dude, like, yeah, it's not a concern. Okay, so now we're gonna do the opposite of that on 24. Okay, so I forgot which side this were. Okay, so the right foot should be swung all the way forward at this point. This will have been 0 before this point, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and key it at 0. Okay, and then this will be swung back. And then this will be angled up like so. Good deal. Okay, cool. Alright, so now we should have something that looks reasonably like a lock cycle. Okay, now Blom, get his arms going correctly. Okay, great, nice. Okay, it's taking shape anyway. All right, so clearly we've got some penetration issues, which are happening from the elevation of this guy. So we're gonna just go ahead and 0 that, and then at 16 it will also be keyed, and at 32 it will also be keyed. By the way, what I'm doing is I'm holding down K and middle mouse to scrub the timeline without updating the visor. I don't know if you know about that or not. So in this down position, I know that this is going to be the same on 24 as it is on 8, so I'm scrubbing with K and middle mouse, and then I'm connecting that movement there. Okay, alright, great. We're going to call this guy Bob, because he bobs. Alright, so let's sort out. I was getting a little ahead of myself with this whole action here. That should be 0. Oh, and I'm not even keying it. Let's start with that. Okay, so keyed, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start addressing this on both sides. Okay, so from, actually this is probably going to be from like, well, we can start it from 0, see what happens. Key, and then we'll roll it forward to 8, and then we'll get a nice big arc there, and a nice big bend in the toes. Okay, and see how that tracks. Not great, but that's okay. We're gonna just go with that for now, and then it should hit there, and then by like probably 10, it should be zeroed again. Okay, maybe not. I'm just going to select that. I'm going to drag it back to 12. Okay, there we go. Good. And by the way, almost all of your keys are going to be happening on zeros for a 12, 16, so on and so forth. Okay. The reason why I use 32 is specifically for that, so that I don't have to do any sort of guesswork about where I should have my stuff hit. It's all in 4s, which makes it very, very convenient to animate this guy. Okay, cool. So let's just watch it. Cool. Okay, that's good. Okay, now let's go ahead and sort out this over here. We're going to at 16 key, or just X, key selected, roll it back to 24, and it should be fully bent at that time. Good. Good. Okay. And then by 28, we'll have it snapping back to 0. Okay. Cool. And then, just for the hell of it, we'll go ahead. Yeah. Alright, this should be taking shape pretty well. I should point something out really quickly. Let's go ahead and show joints. And let's go ahead and show what's going on with root here. Okay, so I've got my root selected. Watch what's happening with my root. Nothing. Okay. Although he's bobbing up and down, that bobbing is happening at the hip, okay, not at the root. Right? That's very important. The root is centered right underneath his mass, and that's where it should be. Why? The reason why is because as we add dynamics and colliders, things like that, into this character in Unity, we want that point to be very much at the origin of the character. And that will move around inside of the scene, but it will be at the root of the character, the origin of the character always. That'll make more sense as we continue to sort of cover this. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and show joints. Alright, good deal. So he's walking, he's doing his stuff. Okay, it's a real static walk right now, but a walk nevertheless. Let's go ahead, we'll add a little bit of stuff to it. So now we're going to start to deal with like the torso twist a little bit. I have this set up such that this control twists the entire upper body, arms included, and this twists just the torso itself, okay, which looks real funny with that skinning not being taken care of. That's okay, we'll get to it later. This is the one that we're going to want, okay, so as we come down and strike at 8, we're going to want it swinging slightly. Well, you know what, is that the one we want? We could do this. I think we will do this. So we don't want it to mess with the head, okay, so we'll go ahead, we'll swing that 12 degrees, that sounds good. And then we'll go on the other side, we'll go -12. Okay. No. Okay. Good. And then we'll just go ahead and make it 0 here. 0 here. And 0 here. Okay, we may make adjustments to that later, but for now we're just going to do that. Okay. Ah, that was great. That was awesome. Looks like hell, right? That looks terrible. That's okay. We're just going to proceed forward right now, and we will kind of address it a little bit later. Okay, so this shoulder should actually kind of reach forward a little bit right there. Okay, and this shoulder should kind of reach back a little bit right there. Okay, and then on 24, it should be the inverse. This we should reach forward just a hair. Oh, now is a good time. Here, let's see. Oops. Okay, good. We'll be using that graph editor quite a bit. Okay, so we've got reaching it forward, and then reaching it forward. Okay. Translate why, that's fine. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and play that. See how it looks. Okay, we've got a pop in that shoulder as it transfers back to 0. So we just hold down K, middle mouse drag, back to the origin, and then key these again, and that snap should go away. Good deal. Okay, it's getting better, it's getting closer. Okay, so let's go ahead and start sweetening what's going on with the legs here. So we want that contact to be maintained properly without any penetration, right? So grab this. Okay, we're going to come back to 4, all right, and then we're going to add a keyframe there to keep it on track. Okay. Alright, it's kind of like doing like a little bit of this, like a penetration there. This is where we start looking at the graph editor. Okay. So let's look at it here. I have 2 screens set up, which is really the way I prefer to work with this, but since you can't see that screen, I guess I'll go ahead and do this. We're going to be looking at translate Y. We've got this little thing going on now. A lot of times this can be fixed by simply taking those 2 and making them linear. That did not work in this particular case. Okay, so we want it to be higher in these. We want that arc to be higher, so we're gonna make these weighted tangents, broken weighted tangents. And we're just like these, we're gonna bring them up. There we go. Oops. This is just a hair. Okay, very nice. Okay, so now let's deal with this one. As it transitions back, it should be rising up, so we'll be looking for 20. Which corresponds to 4, okay, for the sweep on this other leg, right? Okay, let's go ahead and look at just that. We're going to break these tangents, make them weighted, okay, so that we can get like that nice even transition there. Okay, this also broken. Oops. Pretty good. So know, I never use this, but you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to talk about it. Should that be an elevation? Or it should be an elevation change, so we're actually going to go here. That's going to go. And also this should still be pretty freaking bent. Alright, let's move this off for a second. Okay, it's coming along. Let's really get close on those feet and watch them. Make sure that they're symmetrical. Sweet. Okay. Now, next thing is, when the heel lands, that foot should slap down onto the ground really quickly. Okay, so, and it's just kind of coasting. It's coasting down super slow. Okay, we'll want it to like slap down. I mean, let's have it at 12 and then see if that's fast enough. And it may not be. Okay, which on this other side, that will be 28. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that looks right. Now we've got like this little jog that comes in, goes up and then down. Okay, so let's get back up over here, check that out, and so we're just gonna isolate that, and these two bad boys are just gonna need to be linear, and that should handle that. We've got it happening again back here. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and insert a key and be sure that that is doing what it's supposed to do. There's still just the littlest bit of a hitch. I think it's an elevation thing. Let's look at translate line. Yeah. Okay, so we've got this jog happening here. First, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to make this linear. See if that fixes it. It's better. I'm going to make that linear too. That's pretty even. It's pretty coasty. Okay. One foot always requires more work than the other because of where the loop happens, just so you know. Okay, cool. Now, I don't know if you can detect it or not, but I can. These have a hitch in Z. Okay, so as they're transitioning back into their Z axis, or their Z plane, there's a little bit of just a hitch here. So I'm going to play it and see where I see it. It's at the passing position. Okay, so if you will note, this is not like a very even wave pattern. Okay, and I'll show you how we should start working at this point. We should actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'll have keys. It doesn't matter. This is interesting. This is one of the awesome things about selecting these curves. You can select all of those curves at the same time and go cycle and curves. Cycle. Okay. So just by selecting that thing, I was able to select all of the curves that have thus been established on this character. Okay, and now what I should see is my post-infinity and pre-infinity curves stretching out. Okay, very nice. It's another one of the advantages to working with character sets. All right, so you can see why that hitch is happening right here and here. Okay, those need to be structured so that they are contiguous, just like it is here. Okay. So it's a nice, even wave. You know what? Don't even need that. Okay, now it's going to be even better. And if you look at it projected out into this infinity, it's very even. It's very, you know, it doesn't have any hitches in it, right? Even sine wave. Okay, look at this here. It's the same deal. Okay, so not super critical, but why don't we just go ahead and make those 0 for now? Okay, this bad boy, like I was saying, one side always requires a few more keyframes than the other just by virtue of where it is in the on the timeline. So it's just something to consider. Cool. Very nice. Okay, so it's got a nice even hitch. I don't know what the hell's happened over here. Oh, I know exactly what it is. So when we've made pre-infinity and post-infinity, anything that doesn't have a finishing loop on the final frame will then, obviously, it'll loop from the point at which it last had a keyframe. Okay, so if you see anything like that happening, it just means that you need a proper keyframe on the end, and then that should take care of that. Okay, now it's starting its infinite loop from 32, which means we never see it, actually. That infinite loop thing, I mean, it'd be fine if you wanted to stretch it out on your timeline forever, but it shouldn't matter in this situation. Everything should be spot on. Okay, cool. So things are looking pretty cool. At this point, I find this skinning issue to be so distracting that that's where I feel like we need to go ahead and deal with that. Now, this is what is so sweet about working with character sets. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select this bad boy, and we're going to go up to first save. We're going to save it first because there might be some issues with this. And then we're going to go to Windows, Animation Editors, Tracks Editor. Okay, we're going to pull this Tracks Editor up. We've got that thing highlighted. We must have it highlighted. Then we are going to go create animation clip and name this man walk straight. time slider. So characters, yep. Put clip in tracks editor and visor. Apply. Okay, cool. So now what we've got is this clip here. Okay. Now it shouldn't change the animation at all as we look at it. Okay, but what that is. So this is concerning. If we see anything that's still in the graph editor, any keys in the graph editor, we're probably looking at something that didn't make it into the character set. Left elbow effector. No, that's in there. Unless it's actually the show joints, and then we will go open this bad boy up and display FK. Not in there. Alright, good to know. Okay, so the FK stuff, is any of the FK stuff in there? Oh, no. Okay, so all of this FK stuff has to be in there too. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and go right up. I mean, we're never actually going to animate the spine in that fashion, but or the legs or any. Well, yeah, the legs will. Spine we will. Ankles we will. Okay, probably. I don't know. Almost never. But whatever the case is, we still want it all in the character set. Okay, so that's all of the FK stuff. We just have to get that into the character set by selecting that and going control add to character set. Okay, now here's the thing. None of that should actually have any keys on it anyway. So let's delete them. Okay, so we're just going to delete those curves. They don't need it. We don't need them. Okay. So now I'm going to have that back up. I'm going to turn that FK stuff back off so we're not seeing it. Okay, and everything should be still going quite well. Quite well. Good. Show joints. Okay. Now, what should happen is I should be able to select any of the associated controls in the character set, and bring back to 0. When I delete this out of the tracks editor, it should delete all of the animation. You should be totally still. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's bring that window back up. Actually, okay, and insert. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. You can't have it selected for some reason in order to use the clip. Weird. So insert clip. I have already made a T-pose. I probably should have started off with that. These clearly did not make it into the T-pose. Okay, so that's good to know. Here's how you edit a clip. You select it and activate keys. Okay, and then you delete them out of the tracks editor. But those keys are now in your graph editor. Okay, there should be. Oh, right. So you'd have to pick something that actually has keys. Okay, so there you go. If it didn't have keys in the clip, it won't have keys now. Alright, so let's go ahead and select these, and let's zero them out. Let's go ahead and key selected. Oh, yeah, fucker. Okay. Those already have keys. These need keys. Zero those out. Let's key them. Zoom that again. Awesome. while I'm here, I'm just gonna lock scale. I don't hide controls that I don't want to see. I just lock them because you never know if you want access to them again. I think that that's sufficient. A lot of people say lock and hide them, and like that's an absolute rule from handed down from the Dodds. Just some random circle in there. But I don't believe it. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna pause there. It's been an hour, and I gotta go. Alright, so see, at last we were fixing this skinning issue. I'm pretty happy with that. We're losing volume a little bit in there, but oh wait, we haven't fixed it yet. I haven't fixed it yet. Okay, cool. So really quick, I'll just go ahead and go skin, mirror skin weights, positive to negative. So straight. Now that should be pretty well fixed. That's pretty good. It's like not like the shoulder really does that all that much anyway. Alright, great. Okay. So now let's get our lock back in there. So we don't have anything loaded in there. We'll just go library, insert clip, walk straight. Okay. See that the character just snaps into place and boom, starts walking. Okay, so in this way we can use animation clips non-destructively. We can also kind of pack them and unpack them, right? So I'm not done with this. I'm going to go ahead and activate keys. Okay, so what that means is that there are some keys on some keyable object in here that we have to get rid of first. So we can go into graph editor, and then what we'll do is we will just select this here, and then we'll look at that in our graph editor. We're going to open this up and get rid of that. Alright, there we go. Now, good. Okay. I hope that was clear what I just did there. I selected the character set, then deleted all of the keys that were just in there, which probably, I'm not sure, I probably set them by accident while I was like fixing that skin weight issue. Alright. So we're going to dial back. And now I'm just going to be sweening this animation, okay? Just making it do things that are going to make it just a little better. So I'm going to make this have like a nice even wave pattern here. This is the twist of his torso. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to scale it down a bit. Okay. It's still too much. That's better. Now, here's the next thing about it. I feel like it should be trailing just a little bit. So I'm going to move it to there, see what happens. Yeah, not trailing quite that much. So, back to 2, see what happens. So, and then we don't want that to be there exactly. What we're going to want is for, we're going to want what it looks like at 32 to be there. Oops, what did I do? 32. Oh, that's right, that's correct. And then we'll want what it looks like at 2 to be wait a minute. Oh no, yeah, duh. Okay, here. Grab it with that at 32. Insert key. Oops. There we go. Okay. Okay, cool. Now, now we're going to put in a little bit of side-to-side motion. And use that whole thing that drags the entire upper body. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that. While we're at it, let's just go ahead and lock these. And since I'm going to keep doing this, I might as well go ahead and do a layout. Two lanes stacked. Just make this the let's get rid of that for now. Okay. Alright, so go here. Good. It's looking pretty good. Alright, so his arms are super stiff. Okay, and at least this one is swinging in the wrong direction as it goes back, so it's swinging out, and it really should swing in. So let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so I'm going to start just kind of swing that back a little bit as it comes back. And then passing on to that already looks better. I mean, it's not great. I'm gonna kind of go with it for right now. Just start rotation. We're just gonna delete all of those keyframes so that that smooths that rotation. That's good. Okay. And then something else is it's kind of whipping back really abruptly. So we're just going to take these two values and we're just going to kind of bring them down. Let's see what that does. Made it worse, didn't it? Look. How's it going? So we've just got like this little collision issue right there. I'm just going to insert a key. Just going to tweak it just a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Way better. Awesome work. Okay, it's the same thing with the other side. The other side actually already looks a lot better than this side, but I'm gonna tweak it. Okay, cool. It's looking alright. It whips back pretty quick there. I'm just going to delete these. See what happens. Where is it? That too. That's pretty good. I'm just going to kind of tweak these a little bit just to see what happens. There we go. Yeah, it's looking better already. I've got a little attitude. Okay, now the next thing that's going to help out with this is a little more movement in the arms. What's going on here? Got some skin issues. when I mirrored those skin weights, it probably caused some problems with the intersecting stuff here between the legs. It's like they cross over the midline, and I think Maya doesn't know how to deal with that sometimes. We use the hammer weight tool, which is my favorite thing, and that fixed it, at least for now. And you know, I'm gonna be honest, man. I find this stuff, as although this particular animation is actually largely defined and stuff like this, I'll keep doing this, doing tweaks like this, whenever I find them. That's just my process. I know some people think that you should have reach a high level of completion for each stage. I have found that to be virtually impossible. To just finish completely, tweaking its skin weights and then move on to animation. I've never experienced a character that I didn't have to continually sort of tweak weights for, because man, you don't see them until you start animating. At least that's my opinion. Other people may disagree, but that's what I think. There we go. Cool. That looks better. Great. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I have to. I tweak weights when I see them. I'll change the rig as needed. And works for me. I know it wouldn't be very viable in a full-on pipeline, or maybe it would. I don't really know. Let's go ahead and reference. Okay. Before we move on to the arms, let's get a little movement in the hips here. So as he walks in, it's going to stroll in here. This he's going to lead slightly, and then what we're going to see is as the hip takes weight, it's going to tilt and drive back a hair. Boom. Right. And then it'll even back out right here. Just take it away for now. And then as we go forward on the other side, it'll do the same thing. We'll have it reaching forward. And then as it takes weight, drive back a hair and tilts to take the weight, and then back to 32 and 0. Okay, let's see what that did for us. That's pretty good. It's a little uneven. I think we've got more tilt happening on this side than on the other side. And it's mostly going to be in, it would seem, the rotate y-axis. Yeah, so it's too much. Good, that's getting better. Rotate Z has just too much in general. Although it's even, it's just got too much symptoms. So I'm just going to scale these down here. What's the problem here, man? There we go. Okay, let's give that a try. chest is twisting way too much. Good. Great. Okay, it's still super stiff. And largely that's being caused by the arms. So we're going to show our joints here. Show. And then we want to have our FK system. And grab this back away. And so as it swings back, it will start to bend. Okay, so at 8. Swings back. 12 will probably be where the other bit was swinging. And then as it hits that back, we'll probably we'll largely want it to stay bent as it swings back, but then as it comes back forward, we'll want it to get straight. Okay. So go there. Swing back, swing forward. Okay, cool. So let's keep that. See what that looks like. It's kind of a pop in it, doesn't it? So as it starts to go back, it really pops. Let's go ahead and highlight that. I feel like if we just kind of like soften that a little bit, and then we could break those and just kind of extend that. Let's see what happens. That's better. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So, go with that. And see, as it comes up and extends forward at 24, straight. As it swings back to 32, it will have a bit of a bend. It will have the same bend, oops, coming out at 0. And then as it swings back, and then straight again by 16. It needs to straighten out faster. I'm gonna go ahead, insert a key here, pull that shit down. That's pretty good. Okay, we should have a little bit of forward and back motion in the torso. So we're just going to go ahead and, as he walks forward, he should lean into it a little bit. So I'm going to try this at 4. we should have, looking at translate values, we should have him, I'm just going to zero that and see what happens. And then back at 32, should have the same. And then on we can actually just, since it's the same on both edges and both ends. Oh, whoops, sorry. Let's actually delete that. Okay. Let's Control C and then, oops, say Control X. Control C, Control V. Why if we're not you? Huh. That's weird. That's weird. That is. Should be. Huh. Okay. Control C, Control V. That did not work either. Man, what the F? That didn't make any sense to me, but might need a restart. Okay. Looks alright. It's a little too much. And it's a little too abrupt. So we're just going to bring these back. I hesitate to bring it all the way to 8, but maybe that is where, that is where it needs to be. I kind of feel like I needed to lead a little bit more, but just not. Okay, I'm noticing something as this is playing. I'm noticing that the hips have a little pop. And I'm just causing that. This is interesting. See, has an end. So, let's do this and see what's going on. Okay, so I haven't completed this here. So, let's go ahead and okay, so it's coming forward there, and then by 16 it should probably just be 0 again, and then we'll do the same thing here, and hopefully we'll look at Control C, Control. Oh, it is so bizarre. And, like, why would that? I just don't understand why that's done that. Okay, it's actually not changing at all. At least not yet. Oh god, there's 32, just to have it at the end point. There, that's good. That pop's gone. Alright, this is looking pretty good. Just save really quick. Alright. Let's see, as this is drawing back, we've got a weird little hitch. So what's happening right there? Imagine it's being caused by that. I'm just going to delete that and see what happens. Yeah, okay, that's got it. Cool. I'm just looking at it, looking for any problems. He's leaning a little harder to the left each time he takes a step, which I might just leave, dude. Although no, I mean, like, what I should really be doing right now is just making it really symmetrical, static, sort of, not static, but a really symmetrical, really sort of straight kind of a walk cycle. And then if I want to add attitude to it later, I could make a variation, right? But having something that's just really super, just super straight and generic is probably better. Let's see. Okay, what we're looking at is translate X on that. Ooh, or so I thought. There might be rotate in Z. Yep, that was it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and drop this down to right about now. Let's look at that. Sorry, maybe it doesn't really exist. Maybe it's just something that I'm perceiving. Well, anyway, something I should definitely do is go ahead and smooth those out. Actually, that was it, I think. Yeah, that was it. Okay, cool. It wasn't actually the degree to which it was swaying from side to side, it was the speed that it was swaying from side to side. So now I'm seeing something sort of weird. Like his mid-back, his like thoracic spine, right at that moment is sort of reaching forward. What could cause that? That could cause that. I think I'm seeing. I'm not seeing that. It's weird. Just a little bit too much. Oh, sorry for motion. Let's see. Let's try this down here. So I was seeing some like an asymmetrical concave to his spine as he was like walking through this motion. So at 20, we should have the inverse. Let's just see how that looks. Okay, that's actually exacerbated it. As it turns out, I may not need any of that. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, cool. So that actually looks better. Seeing a little bit of like kind of a wonky movement in the torso. Like right there. I feel like what needs to happen is that needs to just be like bigger to kind of keep the torso straight. Did that just make it worse? That's is that better? Yeah, that is better. Okay. That's a lot of twist in the torso. Still. It's okay. There's a lot of twist in the head too. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay. It's looking pretty good. We're going to soften the expression in the arms a little bit more. So, we're going to do that. Show what you can see. Now, the HIK system, it's sort of unfortunate we don't get a lot of bend. Like, it doesn't carry through in both of the wrist joints, which is sort of lame. What we can do is, let's see, what am I doing? Here, display, HIK. Okay, cool. So, I just had to get oriented about how I was going to deal with this. Okay, cool. So, as this dude's hand swings forward, I want his forearm to rotate a bit. And then, as it comes back, probably 0, 8, 0. And then all the way back to 20. 11 times 32. It's going to be 0 again. There we go. Alright. So let's hide those bones. I gotta really put that on a hotkey. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Alright, now his hands are super stiff. Go on. I've just set up these controls on these hands. Just that is going to make it look so much less stiff. There we go. Let's go. Okay, now check out turns like and F. So, first of all, we should be on the same level. Second, I would like to be down just a bit. That's better. Now, as we come here, I think sorry. Come up just a little bit. Rotate in more. There we go. It looks pretty awesome. There is a little giants S F. Pop right there. Take care of that. Pretty good. Yeah. It's really good. That's opening a bit much. Really rapid snap coming from something there. That would be it. There, it's right. There we go. Oops. You lost him. That is odd. That would be fine. It's looking pretty good. I'd like to see he swings out like that. Just a little bit more open. And same thing over here. Just a bit more open. Yeah, that's better. We've got a little bit of skinning issue in his lat. I mean, it's almost unnoticeable. It's just losing a little bit of volume in there. Honestly, we could probably let it go, but it's something I'm going to consider next time I have him in T-pose. Okay. Let's go ahead and tweak this real quick while I'm looking at it. Oh, it doesn't like that. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking weight off of the lat, or in this case the collarbone, and putting it back into the spinal joint that's associated with that. If we wanted to see what's going on with that, we would look at this. Turn on. Go away. There we go. Those are the actual joints, skin joints. There's something going on in there. There we go. God, I love that thing. I love it. I would marry it. Cool. Looks like such a wuss without his bump map, dude. Look at him. Oh, I'm so tough. I'm so meek. So tough. Okay, there we go. Anyway. Okay. Looks really good. All the angles except for the front angle. Something about it. Just, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Really good thing to do if you're kind of like looking at an animation and you're not really sure what's wrong with it, but you're pretty sure something is wrong with it. Just leave it for a little while. Take a break. Look at something else. When you come back, it usually hits right in the face, man. You really see it. You have a really good sense of what the problem is. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's save this. And let's fix that skin issue real quick. So we fixed it on this side, the right side. And it needs to be transferred over to the left side, I believe. I guess we'll find out. So, Windows, Animation, Tracks Editor. Okay, now, you've got, you want to bring up your visor. You've got this walk cycle in here, the old one. If you wanted to preserve it, you could. I don't want to preserve this one. It's not, important to me anymore. It was, a very prototype version of it. So I'm just going to copy the name. I'm going to delete that bad boy. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and select this control set. And then I'm going to go ahead and create an animation clip by the same name if it's already in there. And then I'm going to verify that it looks good, it looks the same, and it does. It's all to be expected. I'm going to go ahead and select it in here, delete it out of there, and you should see that there is no animation now. Good. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take my tracks editor. I'm going to select nothing. I'm going to insert clip. T-pose, blam. Oh, my T-pose still doesn't have my feet in it. Damn. That's okay. So, chokers and stuff and junk and stuff. Oh, I wonder if those were the things that I didn't incorporate into my T-pose. That's what those weird random keys were a while ago. So Windows. What am I doing? Oh yeah, tracks editor. Activate keys. Get those out of there. Okay, so let's go ahead. I thought that was kind of weird. I was like, how did keys get in there? So, oh yeah. I hate that the first key that you ever create in a timeline does that snap, man. It's so irritating. I'm gonna lock those while I'm just looking at them. Right. Good. Notice some texture issue up in there, which I'm probably just gonna have to paint out. Not that really concerns what we're doing right now. I'm just keying these shapes. Did I get one on each of these? Key select. Key selected. I don't know why I have that in the matrix there. Again, this is this is a test animation. In so much, I mean, I'm going to end up using it because it looks pretty good, but it's a test animation, and I am using it to show me things that are wrong with my rig. And I'm fixing them, fixing those things that are wrong with the rig as I go along. So that's important. Note that he has some angle here. Get up this bad boy, hide that, to show this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and huge. Shit. So, just have to hide this for them. Oh, and that's not the way I do it. Anyway, here. That's really weird. Well, that's not where I have it. I have it up here. In controller visibility off. Okay, that should have hid all of that stuff. Now that should just be the handle. Okay, cool. So all I'm doing here is I'm selecting all these handles. These are all the FK handles, in case that wasn't clear. FK handles in the rotation values, huh? Very minute ones. Okay, so we're just throwing down a key in each one of those for our T-pose. So sometimes FK is going to be on, sometimes IK is going to be on. Whenever we, zero a character out, we want everything to go into the T-pose. So, I treat the T-pose as something that is iterative, like everything else. Each time I discover a hole in it, I'm going to go in and fix it, which I will probably be discovering well into animation onto this guy. All of these face things need to be zeroed out. Absolutely everything. If you ever create a new control, that'll have to be added in and zeroed out. So it's a process that I just treat as something that is developed over time. Again, I like my workflow. I've just resolved that I am going to do things iterative, layered, and as they arrive, rather than trying to get everything done perfectly all in the same foul swoop. I've tried to do that for years, and I've realized that if I try to do that, I never get the project done. So good enough is my mantra. Is it good enough? Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and remake that. T-pose. Do windows animation. Tracks editor. T-pose is not in there. But all the keyframes are in there. Okay, so it's not necessary to have this 30. This could be a single frame long instead of being 32 frames long. Just got one. But anyway, let's go ahead and we'll select. Oh, first let's get rid of the old one. T-pose bye, and then we will we will select this, create an animation clip. And although this is technically a pose, clips can be poses. Can't be clips, I would assume. So I just don't bother with poses, I just make them all clips. Okay, man, T, pose. Yep. Create clip. Okay, cool. Get rid of, oops, why didn't they delete? Get out of there. Alright, sweet. Let's go ahead and save. And then, let's see, what was the... Okay, that looks good. There's like no collapsing in his lat area there. And there's kind of like minimal collapsing in that area there. Oh, anyway. Guess I'll mirror it anyway. This side looks a little bit better. So that's the side I'm going to copy. Skin. Oh, by the way, every time you mirror skin weights, or copy skin weights, it becomes a little less accurate. You'll get these minute little, what's going on with his legs? They're not quite right. That's interesting. Huh. What? I thought I zeroed all those. Clearly I didn't. That's weird. So what's the deal? It's sort of odd where that is. Just kind of seems like it got displaced a little bit, which is kind of concerning. So something that you can kind of do to help diagnose this stuff is if you just turn off the control rig, everything snaps into the position that it was in when you created the definition. And actually all of that looks fine now. So I either fixed the thing that was troubling, or it's just close enough now that I don't really need to care anymore. Which either is fine with me. Okay, cool. I'm gonna turn these back off. This is like, I'm not gonna get into what this is all about. I did this hybrid rig that it uses the HIK system with some other stuff that's kind of put on top of it to help make it more controllable. And to my knowledge, this is not typically done. So I think I'll probably do a little tutorial on how I constructed this and what I did with it. But in the meantime, maybe I'll just cut that part out since it didn't matter to anyone. Alrighty, what's the deal now? Let's go ahead and see if I get a pop when I bring animation tracks editor. Let's go ahead and select nothing, library, insert clip, PMT pose. Yep, I did. I got a little tiny snap in the knee. We don't want that. Okay, so I'm gonna activate those. Okay, close enough to see. Activate keys, delete keys. Oh, something you should know about doing this, about creating these and then deleting them and then recreating them, is that each time you do, it leaves a little junk in your scene, just a little bit. Yeah, the way to get rid of that junk, and what you'll start seeing is your save times will really start slowing down, your opening times will really start slowing down, and even your animation times will start slowing down. And once that starts happening, you just kind of should know that what you've done is you've created and deleted too many of those, too many clips. Okay, so there's those junk clips that don't really exist anymore, but they're just dirtying up your scene. Now, the only way that I am aware of cleaning that up is to get all of your clips on your timeline, which will be a lot by the time you're done animating this guy, and then or not on the timeline, but in the tracks editor. And once they're all in the tracks editor, all the ones you want to keep, then you optimize scene size and clean up clips. Okay, and that will go ahead and do just that. And then your scene will speed up. It'll also decrease in size massively. Just a little FYI. No one will ever hear that. You take that. Okay, cool. Like, why is it an angle? Yeah. There we go. There we are. That's the ticket. God, I should probably just keep these two. I hesitate to, but I'm gonna. These are auxiliary IK handles in the human IK system. Oddly, primary IK handles cannot be parented, and they all have these values, as do actually secondary auxiliary controllers also have. You can see they have offsets, translated offsets, just like joints. They need those to be able to be properly positioned in space, which is irritating in a way because they're not like traditional IK handles. In that IK handle, you should be able to zero out, but doesn't work that way with these. So what I'm going to do is key them all in the position that they're in. And now these will also snap during the T-pose. Usually I don't touch them at all. They're not animated. They should just be parented into the rig and that's it. But just for the hell of it, just to make boilerplate this whole thing a little bit, I'm gonna key them. Okay. So Windows, Animation Editors, Tracks Editor. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete that T-pose again. Hi T-pose. And then let's create animation T-pose. Good. We have to have this selected first. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Are those all in there? We're gonna make sure. So I wasn't paying attention while I was doing that. It doesn't. What you can do is you can select this. I am dividing these out. The only divisions that I have as far as sub groups is the auxiliary and the primary IK effectors, and then everything else that I actually use is in body controls. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these into there and control add to character set. Okay, so just to boilerplate it, I think some of them were added, but I wasn't sure if all of them were. But if I make a clip and it wasn't in there, it will have no effect. So other than to just have a key on those things, which would just get in my way later. Alright, so now again, we're gonna select that topmost node and T-pose apply. Alright, good deal. Okay, so have I fixed the skin issue yet? It's always one step forward and two steps back, you know? I don't think I have. Okay, no I haven't. Okay, so let's go ahead and skin and mirror skin weights, and we want it to go positive to negative across the YZ axis. Surface is fine. Let's join, apply, and close. Okay, now this should look good too. Honestly, I can hardly tell a difference, but I guess that's probably right. Let's go ahead and move this foot out. Last time we mirror skin weights, we had a little bit of a problem in the crotchal area. Okay, that's fine. Great. Save. Okay, man. Final stage of the walk cycle. Windows, Animation Editors, Tracks Editor. Let's get that out of there, and let's go ahead and select nothing, and then library, insert clip, and T-pose. Oh, I've got two T-poses in there. Just so you know, 4 was the most recent one, 2 is the old one. Why don't I just go ahead and delete that right now before I get any confusion. Okay, insert clip, man, walk street. Alright, let's check it out. Uh-oh. Well, let's see, maybe we should increase this timeline back up. Got some swagger, this dude, huh? Swagger. So, man, I could get into like kind of like a little bit of individual finger movement here. Like, I'm I'm not going to, because I think that is getting so, that would it almost be more like I'm trying to add personality to this individual rather than just get a really generic walk cycle. So like if I was going to make this walk cycle for somebody that had some sort of a personality that I wanted to convey, I might start sort of, making this walk cycle, different in some way. It might be more aggressive, it might be more feminine, but whatever. We'll just go with this. His torso's moving in a weird way. That is the thing. That's what's bothering me about the front. Okay, so good. Let's play back for a sec, and I'm almost positive it's this. Let's look at that. Oh, I haven't activated. So first, Windows, okay, let's turn off those. It's just noise in the scene that we really don't want to select either. I'm thinking it seems to be stronger on that side. I don't know why. They seem like they're even. What's that? -325. Yeah, -325. We've already sort of dealt with this. Let's bring it down here. That's better. Yeah, that was it. No, I like it. Great. Looks really good. Looks good from every angle. I'm digging it. I'm into it. Okay, final stage of the walk cycle. Okay, so a little bit of a tweak there to just something that I saw. Now, this dude's gonna have to travel through space. The way that I set up stuff in Unity, and this is not necessarily the way that it needs to be set up, by the way, it's the way I set it up. I am going to use the mechanism, and I am going to have his root transformations drive his movement in space. Okay, I just think that that's more intuitive, but it's not necessary. You could translate him around through code, in which case this is where you would stop, and then you would take him in, and then you would drive that motion else in a different way. I just feel like you're asking for trouble if you do it that way, because I don't think that the feet would line up quite right. It would be hard to get them to line up anyway. They might look like they're floating. Anyway, that's that. Let's go ahead and open up our hypershade. And let's just, there's some other checkers in there, but I'm just gonna do something new. Okay, we're just gonna do a Lambert. Where's my third? Lambert. And I really don't like the new way that they have all this stuff done. It's so unintuitive, very irritating. So, yeah. It's like you have to go through so many more steps. Like, why did you change things and make them more difficult to use? Because that's how we roll here at Autodesk. This environment layer. Assign that to that, and then We're just going to make this texture repeat a few more times, like how about 10? Oops, 10. And 10. Alright. So now that we've got a texture on the floor, we've got something to look at for reference for placing the feet. Okay, so let's go ahead and reference that again so that we don't have to deal with touching it. Okay, so this is just going to be translate and see. Now, this rig is set up such that all translations of the character happen from this locator. Okay, and the structure of that is this is what you start with when you do a human IK system, and then I've done a lot of extra like little things to kind of make everything work. The root is not automatically in this sort of hierarchy. That was something that I created, and then I'm using a parent constraint to control the root. Okay. I don't have it inside of that hierarchy because I want it to actually take keys when I bake it, the root that is, and I also have these things separated out so that when I export, I can just delete whole things like, unused clothes. I can delete all of that. I can delete all of rigs. I can delete all of this. Just quickly go through and remove all of the stuff that I won't be exporting. Okay, so you can see that the next thing under this is the skin, and then skin, rig, hip, base, and then all of the skin joints are under that. This is the first joint that takes any weight, skin weight. This is just a transform that exists above that for global positioning. Okay, so it's very important. This is what handles all of the global positioning for the character. Alright. So, with that being said, I am just going to put that in the wrong spot, so I'm just going to back that out to there. 0. Okay. And then I'll just go forward to 32, and I'm just going to move it forward arbitrarily. I don't know how much. And then just kind of see. It was pretty close, actually. Get my texture up and kind of look at it. Alright, yeah, that's probably about right. Now, you want this curve to be linear because you want that character to travel on a really consistent, so you want it to travel consistently, that is to say. Okay, so if you'll notice, just right at the end there, it's probably happening everywhere else too, his foot slides back just a hair. So I'm going to take this F. I'm going to bump it up just a hair, okay, and see if that fixes that problem. It's just a little bit more. Just a hair more. That's looking pretty good. Now we're going to get really close and we're going to look for some sliding, which is probably happening. We're going to see. Okay. There we go. So this foot, and by the way, man, this is probably not going to be able to be seen inside of the game, but we're going to fix it anyway. This thing's got to come up just a hair. Cool. So I'm tweaking this, but I'm going to use this little trick that really helps figure out exactly where we want this to be. So I'm going to put this locator right at the tip of his toe. Okay. And then I'm going to slide it forward and use that to keep him in position the whole time. Now I'm just like rampantly setting keys here. Okay. Once I get a bunch of these keys in here, I'm just like looking for wherever it departs, so it departs immediately. I'll probably have a key on every single spot. Alright. And then what I'll just do is I'll get into the graph editor and I'll look and I'll see what the trajectory looks like, and then I'll minimize the keys. Okay. And basically by now I'm going to lift this up and rotate it like the sled. Okay, cool. Wait a minute. How did I do that? Oh. I totally messed this up. That's not where you should generate the pivot for the foot from. Okay, so I am going to delete all of that. And no wonder it was so hard to work with. Okay, so instead of doing that, also get rid of all of this. Let's see. Yeah, well, we're going to delete it all for now. We'll come back. This is where you generate the pivot from. So we're going to pivot, and we'll just keep those. And then we're going to come up to 8, and then we're going to pivot. No. There we go. Now. It's funny that I did that. This thing. It's like, why? It's fine. Okay, so I had some technical difficulties there. I had to restart my whole computer. So back here, knocking out the rest of this walk cycle. So just a hair. Okay, there we go. Should push off, and then let's see, 16. This should be zeroed. Yeah. Well, maybe not zero. But zero here. Sorry. Just here. Something like that. Okay, like 24. Definitely want this to be 0. There we go. There. Zero. Start doing that. There we go. Okay, cool. So, when last we left off, I had been animating the rotations for the entire foot from the just go rotates. From the base controller, which was stupid. I should have been going from here. No big deal. So I have roll on the toe and the ball, and if you have those controls, you should certainly use them. Cool. Okay, so this should be 0. And it should be here and also rotate. There we go. Should probably talk. Sorry, that should be 0. Okay. And then, oh, that has no key. Okay, there we go. And then, let's say 12. That should be. Or actually, no. Actually, I'll just bring that back to 8. Like 8. That should be 0. This should be rotated. Is auto key on? Yeah, it's weird. Okay. There we go. I don't know what the hell is going on there. Okay, blam. By 12. That should be 0. And then it should see if that's working. Okay, looks pretty good now. Here's another trick. I may have the camera in here, actually. Through selected. So this camera should be parented. It is not. Let's just say unlock selected. Oh, and it's just keyed. Break connections. We're just going to constrain it. Actually, we're going to constrain it to this. And, you know what, furthermore, we're going to put a group around it, and we're going to zero this fucker out. And then we're going to actually parent that group to this. It could be actually, no, let's just constrain here. Okay, now, okay, now this group node is going to follow the dude here, and then we'll just follow along as well. Okay, that way we can see what's going on with the walk cycle as the character moves through space, as though we were still just looking at it from the still. Looks pretty good. The camera really doesn't like to be moved while the animation loops, just so you know. Looks good. It's kind of goose stepping over here a little bit, which is at the passing position. So Windows, or actually, let's see. There we go. F, and then we'll go ahead and we can translate Y, and we'll just bring this down to there, and then oops. So bring these down there too. There we go. And a little higher. There we go. Let's take this. Just pull that down a little bit. And then I'm also, I think I'm seeing like a double snap here in this leg. Snap. No? Yeah, wait. Well, whatever the case, it's a little hard. That snap. That's better. Here. Okay. Then no, that this toe or this foot position, as it enters the connection position, it points up late, which is good. That's actually what we want. However, this other one points up early, like way too early, I think. So we're gonna go ahead and look at that, and I guess we're just changing the we're just changing this, how this curve looks here. Turn. We're gonna lengthen that out and have it just come up a little later. There we go. When this one comes through. Yeah, we're gonna do the same thing over here, actually. Come think of it. Just isolate that. Okay. So, you want to really get fancy about this. This is going to be cool. You're going to love this. Okay, so this is 2.7. We're just going to make it 2.75 to round that off. Now, what we should be able to do is take this fucker and we'll figure out how many. I don't know, let's just put in 2.75, see what happens. 2.75. Okay, no. So, let's see. Get out my calculator. So, I don't know, 2.75 times 2. Let's try 5.5. Okay, now let's see. Nice, okay. So, just what I did was put in values for the checker that is equivalent to how far he travels forward, to make it so that it's as though the texture is just it looks as though he's walking continually forward straight in a line. However, he actually is looping back to the position. You can see it by virtue of, like, when it snaps back, you can see that last rung of that texture like fall off and repeat. But for all intents and purposes, it looks as though he's just walking endlessly. And this is a great way to just kind of, like, create a couple of little movies, make sure it looks the way that you want it to look. So let's go ahead and turn off Nerve's curves, and we'll turn off all our IK handles, and we'll turn off our locators, and we'll even turn off our film gate. Camera settings, resolution gate, tools. Oh, no gate. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and select that. We'll also turn off our heads-up display. Where the fuck that is? Let's see, Windows. Or no display. Heads-up display. Cool. Okay, now let's just walk it out. Walking out. Walking out. Walking out. It's like one. It's like you guys remember Zoolander? It's been a long time ago. The Zoolander walk. Down the runway. What a stud. Okay, cool. Alright, Maynards. That's it, dude. That's all I'm gonna do for now. That's the walk cycle. Okay, cool. So now that we're happy with this walk cycle, and I am, I want to go ahead and store that off. Okay, so we're going to select our character set. We're going to bring our tracks editor open. We're going to go to create animation clip. Okay, and we'll go man walk straight. Okay, all of that should be still set up correctly. You're going to apply that, close, push play, and we got it. Okay, go ahead and delete that, and he should have no animation left. Okay, cool. So now we've got that clip that's stored, and we're going to bust it out later. We're going to make duplicates of it, and then we're going to make different walk cycles off of that. One thing, well, actually, I guess that's it. That's it. Thank you.